Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host, as always, Ryan, and today it's that time of year again. It's the first pay-per-view of the year for AEW. That's right, AEW Revolution is tonight. And as always, this is going to be our preview and predictions for the show. Of course, let me know your predictions in the comment section, and we can compare them after the fact and see who was correct. So there are 13 matches altogether. That's 3 on the 0 hour pre-show and 10 on the main card. So let's get straight into it. And of course, if you haven't already, please do leave us a like, drop us a comment, and of course, the most important one is please subscribe to the Wrestling Group today. So we'll start with match number 1 on the pre-show, and it's Boom and Doom, which is Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall. They've been teamed together for a while now, and they are going to be taking on the Infantry, who is obviously Sean Dean and Charlie Bravo. They are the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team champions with Shane Taylor, obviously part of the Shane Taylor Promotions. And we, like I say, we have Boom and Doom, which is obviously Big Boom AJ, who's been working now in the company for a while, and QT Marshall, obviously after they had their rivalry. To be honest, I'll be 100% honest, probably just going to skip this match. Doubt I'm going to watch it. I'll just say Boom and Doom pick up the win because they like to give Big AJ wins. Nothing more to be said about that. Match number 2 is Willow Nightingale defending her AEW TBS Championship against Lena Cross. So if I remember right, this might be Lena's first singles match in AEW as an official AEW wrestler. Obviously, she's had the tag match with Megan Bayne not too long ago, but this is going to be her first singles match. Unless I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure since she signed with the company. This on the pre-show for the simple fact is they've got the women's tag team titles being defended on the main card. So both these women are going to be doing duo matches. They're going to be doing double shifts. To be honest, I'd have thought... See, I don't think Willow Nightingale loses to Lena Cross. But I'd be surprised if Lena picks up a loss straight away. Although losing someone like Willow, who is very, very credible, isn't exactly going to hurt you. Do you know what? I'm going to back Willow. I feel like Willow's going to pick up the victory and retain the TBS Championship. I can't see her losing that title to Lena, who's literally just turned up in the company. And then the one I'm actually most excited for on the pre-show is the 21-man Blackjack Battle Royale for the AEW National Championship. So obviously Ricochet is announced for the match because he is, of course, the national champion. He's had a really good run as the national champion. I'm pretty sure it's something like 8 defenses. I think he's had. Pretty sure I've seen he's had 8 national championship defenses across multiple companies, obviously CMLL, New Japan, AEW, and Ring of Honor. He has been champion now for about 110 days. So he's had a real good run with the title. And like I say, he's defended it across multiple companies, which is obviously what they wanted to do originally. Tommaso Ciampa was announced to be in the Battle Royale as well on Dynamite. And then we have some additional entrances, so I'm just going to go through everyone that's involved so far. So we have, of course, the champion Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa, Trent Beretta, Rocky Romero, Dralistico, Roosh, Scorpio Sky, Daniel Garcia, Anthony Bones, Hook, Katsuyori Shibata, Juice Robinson, Austin Gunn, Ace Austin, and Jungle and Jack Perry. And then the 7 to be announced. So out of them 7, who do you think is going to be in there? I mean, originally I'd thought maybe we'd have got a big return, like an Ospreay or a Jay White or someone, but I don't know whether they do that with it being on the 0 hour, unless it goes over. We've seen it before. Sometimes the 0 hour goes past the hour and goes onto the main show, and the main show starts with the last match of 0 hour. I'm pretty sure FTR did that one year. I think Mark Briscoe is going to be one of them names. He's not named as of yet. Obviously, he's got the on-loan feud with Tommaso Ciampa. See, I don't know. I'd love it to be Jay White. I would absolutely love it because obviously he's been out for a long, long while now. Out of the ones that are confirmed, I'd probably say it's going to be Ricochet versus Jack Perry is the final two, considering they've had their ongoing rivalry for a while now. And to be honest, I'd love to see Ricochet continue because I think he's been doing great things, but it makes perfect sense, to be honest, for him to lose it in a multi-man match rather than a one-on-one. And then he can still continue to challenge for that afterwards. Do you know what? I'm gonna go as a wild pick, and I'm gonna say Jack Perry becomes the second ever AEW National Champion. So that is the pre-show. So now we'll move on to the main card, and like I say, there's 10 matches in total on this card. So we'll start with the trios title. Is it? No, it's not the title. Sorry, it's the trios match of the Dogs, which is David Finlay, Clark Connors, and Gabe Kidd. And they will take on Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and the returning Roderick Strong. Of course, we've seen Roderick return on Collision to help out Darby and Orange. Sorry, on Dynamite. We've seen him return as a face. You know, he left not too long ago. Didn't want to tag into Orange Cassidy. Said he didn't want to be part of the conglomeration and left. But has since returned. The Dogs look like they were under the impression that Roddy was going to join them, but he didn't. He joined Orange and Darby, so that'll be an interesting one. And to be honest, yeah, I know obviously Roderick's just returned, but I'm still going to give the victory to the Dogs. I feel like they've come in strong in a big way. It looks like they're going to have a big future going forward. And of course, you know, it's a proper, well-oiled team that we've seen in New Japan. They can come over and they'll be worthy challengers for the AEW Trios Tag Team Championships, which, of course, are also on the line tonight. Up next, we're going to look at the Babes of Wrath, which is Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. They are the first ever AEW Women's Tag Team Champions, and they are going to be defending their titles against Megan Bayne and Lena Cross. Like I say, both Willow and Lena are facing each other twice. Tag team titles are on the line. I'd like to say the Babes of Wrath retain because I don't mind Megan Bayne so much. I feel like she's improved since coming to AEW. I've watched some of the work she's done in CMLL as well. She had a great match against Olympia last weekend. But I don't know. I just don't see Megan Bayne as a tag team wrestler. I feel like it should have been Megan versus Willow for the TBS and have Megan win and then have Willow and Harley retain the titles. But obviously that's not the way they've done it. And you know what? I'm going to stick with the Babes of Wrath. I can't see Megan Bayne and Lena Cross being AEW Tag Team Champions, I'm afraid. So we'll move on next to the Don Callis family, which is, of course, Kazuchika Okada, who is the international champion he is now, isn't he? He's the international champion. Cal Fletcher, who's the TNT champion, and of course Mark Davis, and the three of them together are also the AEW Trios champions. They're going to be facing, of course, former champions Jet Speed. They held the belts with Hangman Adam Page as Jet Speed Rodeo, a name which I wasn't really a big fan on. And of course, Hangman is going for the world title, so they find themselves a new partner in Mystico. Yes, I don't understand how that's come about. The match was announced. I haven't seen them spend any time with Mystico in AEW. I know they've done one or two shows in CMLL. I don't remember seeing them teaming with him before, so I don't understand what the allegiance is there with Mystico. But I'll never turn my nose up at a Mystico match. So it's same with all these guys, Kazuchika Okada is still one of the best Japanese wrestlers of all time. Cal Fletcher's had a phenomenal last nearly 2 years now. Mark Davis, since the beginning of the year, has been putting in absolutely grinding work. He's been putting on really, really good showings, especially with his match against John Moxley a couple of weeks ago. And of course, Jet Speed are a great tag team. And Mystico is literally the best Mexican wrestler in the world right now. I'm going to have to stick with the Don Callis family for the simple fact is I I just don't want to see mixed match teams. At least the Don Callis family are, that faction's been built for a long while. Just throw Mystico with Jet Speed. I don't feel like it's going to go very far. So I'd rather see the Don Callis family keep the belts for now. So I'm going to stick with that. Plus, it's good to see Mark Davis with a belt. Obviously, the other two both have singles titles, but it's good to see Mark Davis get a championship as well. And next we'll move on to a women's match, which is Timeless Toni Storm versus Marina Shafir in a everyone is banned from ringside match. So neither one is going to have anyone in their corner. Obviously, we've seen Toni Storm team with Mina Shirakawa for a good while now, and also recently Orange Cassidy. But Marina Shafir is obviously part of the Death Riders. She's like the lieutenant in a way, isn't she? She's doing great. Do you know what? She's improved massively since joining the Death Riders. That's exactly what a faction should do, and it's done absolute wonders for Marina. She's been wrestling for multiple companies as well. She's also wrestled in Ring of Honor and CMLL and Defy, and I'm pretty sure she's announced for House of Glory soon. I'll have to go back and check that, but she's been doing really, really well, Marina. And it's about time she starts picking up some big, meaningful wins in AEW. And that is why I'm going to back Marina for the win against Toni. I think she's going to have a really big year this year, Marina Shafir. And again, she's already got that history with Willow. So if Willow retains the TBS and Marina gets a victory over Toni Storm, then why not put Marina Shafir in the TBS Championship picture? So that is where I'm going with that one. So up next, we're going to look at Brody King versus Swerve Strickland. Now, this is a hard one for me. I've loved Brody King since the days of Ring of Honor, and I've loved Swerve Strickland since his days in Defy. So the chance to see these two go at it again is going to be brilliant. Swerve's recently turned heel. He's shown that mean side that we've seen of him before, that got him to the AEW World title the first time, and he's obviously looking to go back in that direction again. Brody, obviously we've seen him not too long ago pick up a shocking squash victory against MJF, and then faced MJF for the World title in a brilliant match. Two guys in the main event scene right now. Like I say, the main event scene in AEW is literally the best in the world right now. I know I've seen other people saying it's too packed, but I just think you're an idiot if you think that. All of them are staying active, all of them are wrestling, they're all wrestling each other, they're all staying in and around the title picture, which is fantastic. We have clear structure of who is next in line. Obviously, at the minute, it's Hangman Page. Like I say, I just don't understand. I've seen a couple of videos where people are like, oh, is the AEW main event scene too packed? Go and watch WWE then. Go and watch 5 40-year-olds fight for the world title if that's what you want to do. But anyway, for me, Swerve Strickland picks up the victory in the simple fact of he's turned heel recently. He's beaten Kenny Omega, and it looks like it looks like it's going to be Swerve that picks up the win. Now I know, obviously MJF is a heel and he's at the top of the card. But the good thing about AEW is, yes, we do a lot of face heels, but we also do heels face heels and face if it calls for it. Now, Swerve Strickland could in fact go on and win the Owen Hart this year, and get his shot that way, same as how Bryan Danielson did when Swerve was the champ. But I'm going to back Swerve Strickland to beat Brody here, but I think this is low-key going to be one of the best matches of the night. And speaking of potential best matches of the night, we have a fantastic matchup that I'm really, really excited to see, and it's Andrade El Idolo versus Bandido. So Bandido, for most people, was Wrestler of the Year last year. He is absolutely superb. He's phenomenal. He's been Ring of Honor World Champion now for so long, putting on absolute killer matches in the main events of, obviously, the Ring of Honor pay-per-views against the likes of Hechicero, Takeshita. And then, of course, we've got Andrade, who is, since his return, has stepped up to become that wrestler we all thought he was going to be the first time he come to AEW. Obviously, they had some issues originally the first time. That's all obviously put to bed now. He went to WE, played around on Twitter for the Speed Championship for a little bit, tried to save his marriage, didn't work out, come back, and he's become absolute fire since he's returned. He's wrestled in House Glory as well, facing obviously the likes of Charles Mason for the HOG World title. And then, like I say, he's been on fire in AEW as well. He's also someone who has his eyes set on AEW World Championship. This match could potentially, again, be the match tonight, but I could say that multiple times over throughout this card. But I'm excited to see this one. And to be honest with you, this one's a hard one. I don't know where to go with this. If Andrade picks up the victory against Bandito, does that mean Andrade's next in line for the Ring of Honor World title? If Bandito picks up a victory against Andrade, that catapults him up the ladder in the AEW World Main Event scene? I feel like it's a hard one to call, but I'm going to go with my heart on this one, and I feel like Andrade picks up the victory, beating Bandito, and pushes himself again further up the AEW World title ladder. Up next is the 2 out of 3 falls match for the AEW Women's Championship. So Tekla defeated Chris Statlander. Originally Chris Statlander beat Tekla, and then they had a rematch in a strap match, and Tekla beats Chris Statlander for the AEW Women's World Championship. And you know what? It was really good to see. I know a lot of people are happy when Chris won the belt. It was unexpected. Chris had been there from day one, and it looked like at one point it wouldn't happen for her. But she's always someone that can have great matches, but there's not really much else there with Chris. Unfortunately, there's just some sort of disconnect with the fans. Character-wise, no one's really understands what's going on. You don't really know from week to week who she's friends with or enemies with. Just something's just not quite clicking there for Chris, and I can't put my finger on it. Whereas Tekla has come in and been made to look $1,000. She's been made to look like a big deal, and you know what I mean. She's already the AEW Women's World Champion. It's great decision by AEW to put the belt on her. She's got the look. She's brilliant in the ring. She's got her faction with her as well to back her up. She's exactly what AEW's needed in the women's division. And I'm really, really excited to see this match. Like I say, although Chris has a bit of a disconnect, and especially when she was the champion and everything else that I just stated, I did say she's great in the ring. We're going to get a great match, and we're going to get it 3 times over. But I'd fully expect Tekla to pick up the victory and retain that championship. I can't see them putting the belt straight back on Chris. And I would be upset if they did, to be honest. I feel like Tekla should have a good, long, solid reign. Possibly until Mercedes returns. Looks like that's the way they're heading. So up next, we have another one that could potentially be match of the night again. It's Jon Moxley versus Konosuke Takeshita. They are facing for the AEW Continental Championship. Now, they had the match a couple of weeks ago, which was absolute banger, but ended in a time limit draw. So this time, there is no time limit for this match. If this match wants to take an hour, this match can take an hour. If this match wants to take 3 hours, it can take 3 hours. If it wants to take a week, it can take a week. Basically, we're going to find out who is better between Jon Moxley and Konosuke Takeshita. So obviously, Jon Moxley won the AEW Continental Championship via the tournament. Had a couple of losses at the beginning, but then managed to turn the tournament on its head and pick up the victory and, of course, the championship. Now, Takeshita has been on an absolute tear over the last year. He was the Never Openweight champion in New Japan. He was the IWGP World Heavyweight champion. He was the AEW International champion. And, of course, only, was it 3 weeks ago, he defeated ELP to become the New Japan Television champion, which we've yet to see him take that belt with him onto AEW for some reason. Not too sure what's going on with that, as he did with the other New Japan belts. Again, potentially could be match of the night. Jon Moxley is a fantastic wrestler. Has literally my favourite in AEW right now. He can mix it up with pretty much anyone. He changes his style depending on who he's facing in the ring. And Takeshita has the potential to become as big, if not bigger, than the likes of Okada and Tanahashi in his future. The sky's the limit with Takeshita. He's still young and he's already a former IWGP World Champion. I'm at loss to this one. I feel like this is going to be a hard one. I feel like my wife and my daughter are both going to go with Takeshita. I've got to stay true to it. I'm going to go with Jon Moxley. I feel like Jon Moxley is going to retain the title. He's already had a couple of successful defenses this far, but I feel like Jon Moxley keeps the belt here. I don't. So it'd be great for Takeshita if they give Takeshita the Continental Championship, but in terms of Jon Moxley, where would Mox go next? Unless if he drops the belt and then goes back again into the AEW World title pitch, it's the only other way that can go, really, is for Mox to go back into the world title picture, which I feel like he's going to stay away from for a while. So I feel like Mox picks up the victory and retains the Continental Championship. Now, again, for potential match tonight, I feel like I'm going to be saying this now for the rest of the card, is the AEW World Tag Team Championships. It is, of course, FTR, the current champions, versus, some would say the greatest AEW tag team in history is the Young Bucks. We've seen them face many a times. We've seen FTR win. We've seen Young Bucks win. There's one thing's for sure. It's going to be a phenomenal match. It's going to be great. So good at what they both do. Young Bucks are more obviously the high flying tag team. FTR are more brawling old school style, but they also tell stories in the ring, which is great. There's just so much they could do with this match. And I'll be honest, like a lot of people say, who are your favourite, tag teams in the history of wrestling? And obviously mine's always been the Hardy Boys. And, I wish they would retire soon, the Hardys. I know a lot of people may not agree with that, but I feel like that they've gone past now. Although they're in TNA, which is basically semi-retirement anyway. But Hardy Boys number one. Number two is the Young Bucks. If you like Hardy Boys, you're probably going to like Young Bucks because they're pretty similar. And then number three for me is FTR. So my number two, my number three are facing each other tonight. I couldn't be happier. Honest to God, I feel like FTR are going to win. I feel like they're going to retain the titles because I do feel like they will keep the titles until Cope and Christian return, which I've been saying now for the last couple of pay-per-views, but I'm still going to predict it. I feel like FTR pick up the victory. Christian and Cope return. Cope and Cage, I feel like they're going to take out FTR, and that's going to lead us to the next pay-per-view of FTR versus Cope and Cage for the AEW Tag Team titles. I've said it for the last couple of pay-per-views. I'm going to stick with it. I feel like that's the way we're going to go. FTR pick up the victory, and Cope and Cage return. So that brings us, I think, to the main event. Is that the only match we have left? Yes. And the main event, and potentially, match of the night. And if you're still with me, thank you so much. I did not expect this video to go this long, but it's AEW. So I love AEW. I'll talk about AEW forever. So obviously, if you don't yet, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on TikTok. Join the group on Facebook. Just talk AEW with me. I will chat until... who knows? Until the cows come home, as they like to say. I'll just be forever about AEW. And this is the last chance Texas Deathmatch for the AEW World Championship. So if Hangman Adam Page loses, he will never be able to challenge the AEW World Championship again. Now, this has obviously a lot of AEW fans, myself included, worried about this stipulation, is the fact that if Hangman does lose, could he end up doing like Cody Rhodes? Cody did this way back when, at the beginning of AEW, when all the AEW fans wanted Cody to be champ. He decided he didn't want to be champ because he didn't want people to think that he booked himself into that position, even though Kenny Omega did it not long after. No one, literally anyone, said that he'd done that. So that was just Cody himself. And then the disconnect with the fans after that, and obviously led to him eventually leaving and going to WWE and then becoming WWE champion, which was great. And then he's repeatedly become WWE champion. Now WWE fans are fed up with him as well. But the problem is Hangman's always been our guy. He's always been AEW's guy. He's been the face of the company. He's been the main character, if you like, from the very, very beginning. And it's just, if they don't allow him to challenge for the AEW World Championship again, there's a potential of three things. One, that he's close to retirement for some reason, which I very much doubt it. Two, the fact that he's close to leaving because his contract's due up and he's thinking of going elsewhere, maybe to developmental and NXT because that's what they do for some reason. Or it's because they've got a storyline a lot further down the line where he then can challenge again for the AEW World title. Just give him like a year to show without it, and then there's a storyline far into the future where they bring him back into the world title scene. Now, of course, the other option is that Hangman wins and becomes AEW World Champion for the third time. Now, a lot of people obviously don't believe Hangman's going to win. They think MJF's going to win because he's not held about that long. I think he won it in December, right at the end of December. And we're only in March now. Yes, he's defended it multiple times. He's defended it across multiple promotions at the minute. He's even defended it on House of Glory. But, like say, when we say Hangman Page has been the main character, MJF's been the main villain. He's been AEW's main bad guy, the top bad guy in the company since day one. And of course was the reason why Cody couldn't challenge for the AEW World Championship to begin with. He cost him the match against Chris Jericho. It's a hard one again with it being Texas Death Match as well. Hangman has been in 7 of AEW's 9 Texas Death Matches, with him winning 6 and only losing 1, which of course was to Swerve. Then they faced after that in a steel cage match, and the things that Hangman did to Swerve in the cage match well outweighed what happened in the Texas Death Match anyway. So you can't really say that he lost that war, did he? It's such a hard one. MJF hasn't had the title that long, and of course Samoa Joe didn't have the belt that long, and Hangman relatively didn't have the belt that long. So I know obviously Mox had a 8-month reign, but then the next couple of champions after that didn't really hold the belt that long. Could that be why MJF has been racking up these defenses, so that even if he ends the reign at 3 months or 2.5 months, that he's still had 5 title defenses? Who knows? I feel like this is a really hard 50-50. I feel like we're going to win because it's such a great match. You know, Texas Death Match is done in AEW. No other company does them as good. It's a hard one. See, normally I'd just go MJF wins and retains and keeps the belt, but why would they add the stipulation in? And that's what's got me questioning. And do you know what? I'm going to stick with it. I feel like MJF retains, Hangman loses, and can never challenge for the AEW World title again. Now, whether that be Swerve decides to get involved and cost Hangman that chance, and then we get the storyline of Hangman versus Swerve again, and then somewhere down the line someone goes, oh, well, you know, it wasn't really fair, you got screwed, we'll give you the chance at the belt again. Maybe. Obviously, there's so much that can happen. But yeah, I'm going to say MJF retains. I feel like he's going to be AEW World Champion at the end of the night. So there you have it. That is my full preview and predictions. We're nearly half hour into this, and if you're still here, thank you so much. And of course, if you haven't already, please do leave us a like, drop us a comment. Please do let me know your predictions in the comment section below. And of course, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Wrestling Group and find us on TikTok too. Thanks, guys.